Now, when we talk about machine learning particularly, what do we do with it? If I'm able to teach a machine something to do, what am I supposed to, what I'm expecting from the of the machine actually? As I said, everybody is interested in future. They have some question which is pointing towards future. What will happen if this is so? An intelligent machine can answer future. They can predict future by looking at the data. I take a very simple example. You take some coins, you put a coin on the table and ask a child to carefully look at it. Then you put another coin in front of that coin a few inches ahead. After that, you put another third coin a few inches ahead, anywhere randomly. After that, you put the fourth coin a few inches ahead of the third coin. Now there is a simple row being created. Now you let the student, now you let the child guess where will the fifth coin go. According to the expectation, the child will point the finger a few inches ahead of the fifth coin, because that is the pattern you are following. Every coin, every new coin which you are putting, it is few inches ahead of the previous one. So the child will guess that the new coin possibly will go in this particular point, in this particular location. When we have a lot of data, a historical data, and that is sequential. For example, the salary of an employee, or the marks of a student across several tests, or the performance or the runs made by a player in several past games which he has played consecutively. Now, this all is continuous data. Looking at this continuous performance, looking at this continuous values of data, we can somehow try to predict what will be the next value. What will be my next salary after 6 months, considering certain data points. One of them is my salary amount. The other data points is the inflation figure, the percentage of inflation, the percentage of promotion I am getting in past years, the frequency of promotion or increment I am getting in past years. These all data points, these all data values will together help me to conclude or to infer or to guess or to predict some amount which I will get in future. Our expectation. When that doesn't happen, disappointment also creeps in. But that's a fact. We keep doing it. So looking at the data and predicting future like this, that is one very useful thing can be done by the help of an intelligent machine. And once we are able to do that, you can think how useful it is for businesses and industries. They can predict whether this patient should be given the ICU or not. They can predict whether this student will really clear the exam in first attempt or not, whether this student needs more help or not. Should I continue my job with the same company or do a switch over because I'm not expecting the expected increment in future by analyzing the figures. So very useful things can be done in by looking at the historical figures. And if I'm able to do with the help of a machine, how useful and how fast, how fruitful it could be for businesses. Because businesses every moment keep asking this question: what next? What next? What new features should my product have? Now, where will the answer come from? The answer will come from by looking at the previous customer feedback on the features of the product. All the products which I have made previously, what is the feedback of the customers on that? How many features have been useful? How many were not? So, looking at that, I can decide, I can predict that, okay, my new product should have these features and my new product should not have these features. So I can have a better improved product. And if a machine is suggesting me, things will become very productive and fast for me. So as a business, I have a lot of time which I can use productively, because this decision making thing, looking at a lot of data, crunching it, and doing useful predictions, my machine is doing it. I am free for expanding my business further. So it's very useful. It's very useful for A student who is learning online, adaptive curriculum, the intelligent program can figure out how much the student is able to understand, and the machine is giving him the topics accordingly. This process is called regression. We technically call this practice as regression. Then there are other useful things which a machine can do for us, that is classifying. Classification is again a very common thing, we do it in our daily life. How businesses use classification, they try to identify or they try to identify customers on the basis of certain traits, maybe a gender, a regular customer, or a regular visitor but does not buy, or a customer who buys the things and returns the things a lot, or a customer who buys a particular product only. So on there are certain criteria on the basis of which we try to classify the data values. Then this is called classification. Another approach we try to do is we try to segregate the data values in separate buckets. Similar kind of values are separated out. Average students, or students on the basis of attendance, regular attendance. So what I am doing on the basis of similar properties, I am trying to collect the data values which are similar or closer to each other. This is called clustering. So regression is looking at the historical data and try to predict the future. On the basis of some criteria or property, try to identify the customers, try to classify the customers, that is classification. Then another example is putting the things together, putting the data values together on the basis of common property. It is called clustering. There are certain aspects where such machines are required which can learn by trial and error method. For example, autonomous vehicle, autonomous drone. Now, autonomous vehicle has to be intelligent enough to control everything on its own on a busy road. Or you can think of a robot in a factory which is performed to do something in a huge factory. It has to roam around the machines and people and perform certain tasks. So this is one area, we call it robotics or autonomous vehicle or robotics engineering. In this area, the approach is slightly different. The algorithm is exposed to a challenge, to a goal to be met through a simulation, and then as the algorithm finds out the way to solve the problem to achieve the goal, if it is successful in certain steps, it is given some rewards, some points. Otherwise, it is given some punishment, maybe negative marking. And depending on that, it develops a strategy to achieve that goal. So this kind of approach where we maximize the reward so that that machine can build a strategy to approach towards a goal. Then this approach, this trial and error approach is called reinforced learning. So what I have been discussing right now, machine learning has three types there: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. In supervised learning, what happens is we have a machine to which we expose a lot of data and make it learn something. We tell the machine what kind of output we expect. For example, I tell the machine, okay, I'm expecting what will be my future salary. I'm expecting how many students will clear this exam. I'm expecting how much runs this player will score in the next match. I'm expecting, I'm trying to figure out which team will go into the semi-final. I'm trying to figure out whether this customer will purchase this product or not. So I'm telling the machine what is the goal. I am telling the machine about the data it is being exposed to. What is the data about? It is the features of the product. It is the traits of the customer. It is the marks of the students. It is the score made by the batsman in previous matches. I am explaining this to the machine. That's called labeling. That's called labeling the data. So I am labeling the data. I am explaining the data to the machine. What is the data about? And I am also telling the machine what output is expected. That's why it is called supervised learning. In supervised learning, machine knows what is the data about and what output it is supposed to give. And there are two very popular approaches to it, as I told you, regression, looking at the historical values and predicting the future value. And the other is classification. Classification is, depending on certain values, we try to classify the data values, the customers, the students, the players, into some category. Regression is the process which works on continuous values because values have a connection. Those historical values connect with each other. That's why the next value is coming out. So that's called regression when we work on continuous values about something. But when I'm looking at discrete values which do not have connection, continuous connection with each other, for example, figures of temperature or rainfall across past 10 years, these are discrete values. And I can, with the help of these values, I can classify them on the basis of certain trait, on the basis of certain property. Now imagine a very intelligent machine to which I expose it with the data. I do not tell the machine what is the data about, and I also do not tell the machine what is the expected output. So I'm not helping the machine at all. That is unsupervised learning. Now here the machine is on its own. The program which I have developed as AI algorithm will do something with the data, I don't know what, and it will try to do two major things. One is clustering. It will look at those data values and try to figure out which values are similar, and it will put them into one cluster. Which values, which other set of values is similar, it will put them into another cluster. If I tell the machine, okay, make 5 clusters, it will create 5 clusters out of those data values. That's called clustering. Grouping the data values on the basis of common property. The other thing is association. How a data value is associated with another data value. For example, a customer is buying, let's say, a shirt. So if a customer is buying a shirt online, by association I can figure out that okay, that customer might be interested in a tie also. So my website will recommend him the ties also. At the bottom of the screen of that customer's mobile phone or the laptop, some ties will pop up and a message will come, you might be interested in buying these also. Remember that? That happens when you go on online e-commerce websites. Recommendations come. That is association. And then the third type is reinforcement learning, as I told you. The machine is given a task. The machine is exposed to a challenge to be done. That machine does the challenge in certain steps. Every good step gives it some score, and we try to maximize the score. As the score is maximized, machine learns from it and is able to do the task. For example, robots moving in an environment, or an intelligent game which is going to play against a user, an autonomous vehicle, a guided missile, a missile interceptor. So these are the applications, these are the examples also, and this is how we understand these terms. And they fall into this organized fashion. When you read the book, now you will be able to understand how the things are discussed there. When you will watch our other videos, we have several videos on our YouTube channel. Now, when you will watch those videos, in those videos, all these things are discussed in quite detail. So you will be able to understand them, and you will be able to plan your classes well. So when we talk about regression, as I told you, let's try to understand it with a simple example. As I told you, the regression is actually looking at the data, which is a continuous series of values, and depending on that values, we try to predict the outcome of another value. The values which we are going to analyze are called predictor values. They are commonly called X values in calculations, and the predicted value is called outcome or dependent value, and in calculations we call it Y. X and Y. Y is the expected output. X is the data values which are under consideration under analysis. And the predictions are always numeric. So if we are going to predict any non-numeric value, we have to translate it into numeric form. Let us look at this small example. I have taken a simple example where attendance and performance of the student is given there. Performance is actually based on attendance. And when that data is plotted on a graph, you can easily make this graph in Excel. There are two aspects to it. One aspect is the slope of the line, this dotted line. This dotted line is trying to go to all the points as nearest as possible. That is the best possible line drawn on the graph across all the data points. This is called the slope of the line. The graph is telling me that the slope of the line is 0.5. And the other factor here is wherever this line is going to intercept the y-axis, that point is 33. So these two values are helping me in applying a formula and algorithm. Intercept added to the product of slope and future attendance. What I am trying to predict that if a student had 100% attendance, what would have been his performance? What would be his percentage? Prediction has given me 86. So it is predicting if the student had attended all the sessions in past, the student will be able to secure 86% marks. So I'm trying to figure out the future performance of a student. This is just an example of regression. And what you see, the formula on the screen, that is a very simple basic formula of regression. You will find it in class 6, 7th, 8th statistics books. So this is one quick example. Depending on the future data, depending on the previous data, we are trying to predict the future data. Regression. So what are the applications? You can think of in an entire industry, in all kind of industry, these applications are possible. Wherever predictions are useful, revenues, profits, sales, the performance of my share, the stock in which I have spent the money, its performance I can predict by looking at the previous data that we commonly do. Correlation between the medicine and the outcome, the vaccine given to the patient and the reaction to the vaccine. Agricultural studies, you think of any industry and regression is there. Well then, classification. Classification, as I told you, is done on the data values which are not connected with each other. They describe the same kind of event or scenario, but they are not in continuation of each other. Certain examples as you see here, the gender, male and female, this is not in continuation. These are two discrete values. The age of the participants or the customers or the students, marks, salary, these are salary of separate employees. If you're talking about the salary of one employee across past months, now that is not discrete figure, that is a continuous figure pertaining to one particular employee. But if you're talking about distinct salary about different employees, these are discrete figures. So these are the examples of discrete figures on, and these figures can be classified. How can they be classified? One very common approach towards classification is decision trees. Decision trees is one way to ask a question, answer it in yes and no, and then ask the next question, answer it in yes and no, and this way slowly moving towards the prediction, slowly moving towards the decision. Now here, as you see in this example, again the attendance and performance data is there, but now the figures are discrete. Attendance is either low, medium or high. Performance is ABC, A being the best, C being the worst. Then depending on that, I am trying to figure out whether the student will drop out or not. So what I did is I picked out the data of past 2 years. Now this is the data of past 2 years. These are only a few figures. You can think of thousands of such records where certain students were dropped out, certain were not. Now after analyzing this by intelligent machine in which this decision tree algorithm was programmed, I showed that data to the machine and machine came up with this decision tree. As you see here, the first question it is asking, what is the attendance? Is it low, medium or high? If the attendance is low, what is the performance? And if performance is A, the student will drop out. No matter performance is good, a student whose attendance is low is likely to be dropped out. Another aspect is a student who is regular in classroom, but his performance is not up to the mark. His performance is either B or C is also likely to be dropped out. Now this I am not saying, this is what the data is saying. Now when the machine will go through that data, analyze this data, it will create a model like this. The machine will create a model where if a student is performing high and scoring B or C in the performance, that machine will predict that this student is likely to drop out. You better deal with this student, talk to him and motivate him so that he does not go away. How this machine is suggesting? Because the machine has learned from the previous data. So it is very important what is the quality of the data, what are the values I am going to use to train the machine. This is very, very important. And that is why a lot of data cleaning is done. When we collect a lot of data, that data exactly is not useful for the machine. That data has to be tidied up, that has to be cleaned. In real life, there are missing values also. Those values have to be filled in. For example, if I am analyzing the performance of the students and a student has not appeared in a test, there would be a zero there because test marks is a numeric value. But zero will give me a very incorrect average. As that student actually did not score zero, that student was absent. That's a missing value. It has to be explained somehow to the machine. You have to give some identification, maybe -1 or some sort of value, so that machine can figure, okay, that's not a performance, that is a missed out. So there are missing values, there are incorrect values, invalid values. All these have to be taken care of. Data is made suitable for the machine and then analytics is done by the machine. So a lot of things happen before training of the machine and then the proper suitable output comes. And machine does not learn in one go. There could be several reiterations, there could be several repetitions. Even if a machine has to remember a face, it has to go through around 10,000 images of the same person. Imagine 10,000 images of the same person are required to teach a machine to identify that person. Imagine a city, how many images would be required and how powerful graphical processing units and computers and CPUs are required. And they are there. Such sophisticated technology is there, that is why machine learning is there. And what are the applications in the industries? Classifying whether a particular mail is a spam or not. That is done by this approach. We classify the document, we classify whether the news is fake or not, whether it is a hate speech, whose face is this, prediction of the behavior of the customer, student, player. All these are the examples of classification. Identifying the speech, what has been spoken, what question has been asked. So this all is there as the applications of classification. Then moving on to another example of supervised learning. That is also classification, and this is called nearest neighbor approach. In nearest neighbor approach, what happens is, again the same example is there. Here what I am trying to do, I am trying to figure out, I am trying to predict a new performance, that if the attendance is 42, what will be the performance? The prediction has come that performance would be 53. how that prediction has come and how that classification has come. See the graph, 42 and 53 is very near to the values 32 and 50, 48 and 55. The rest of the values are very far if you see the graph. So I have tried to shown it with the graph, and this algorithm, this graph can be converted into a form of program and can be built into a machine. And if this model is exposed to that program, it will create its own model after learning. So here, what I have done is, if you see the yellow cells at the bottom, 42 and 53, these are the new values I have introduced, 42 and 53, 42 for attendance, 53 for performance. Now in this green column, you see, what I have done is, I have taken the subtraction of 42 and the first value 32. 42 and 32 are subtracted, then their square is taken. After subtraction, I have done the square, that is 100. 32 minus 42 will give me minus 10. The square of minus 10 is 100. Similarly, I have done with other figures. The same thing is I have done with 53 and the figures of performance. 50 minus 53 is minus 3. Square is 9. Then I have added these values. 109 is here. 40 is here. 2650 is there. Just for your convenience, I have divided it by 10. Now, when I do the calculation, you see the nearest values are, what are the nearest values? The least value is 0.40. The next least value is 1.09. The third is 2.44, which is a big difference. Big difference. So I am just taking two values. The nearest values are 0.40 and 1.0. These are the nearest on the graph. You see, 1.0 is 3250 and 0.40 is 4855. And this 4253 is falling nearest to them. So I'm trying to classify that in which particular category or class my new values will go into. My new values are going into the category of average students, because the student's performance is low as well as student's attendance is low. So that student is obviously falling with the average performing students. This way, with the help of nearest neighbor approach, nearest neighbor means which are the nearest values in the neighborhood, as you see on the graph. Here I have shown you the algorithm formula in Excel, how this has been simulated in Excel. This kind of program can be built with the machine, and when the machine is shown this data, it will build a model and then it will do the predictions according to that model. So from which kind of data the machine has learned is very, very important here. Clustering. Clustering is identifying the values which are common, which are similar. Let us see. Now I told you that in clustering what happens, machine is actually not told what is the data about. But here, just for the sake of understanding, I have taken the value, I have taken the labels. One label is science and the other label is arts. The science and arts performance is being shown here. On these values, a graph is made, and I can see two clusters here. One cluster is of those students here. You look at this cluster. What is happening here? It is those students who are not very good in science, but they are very good in arts. In arts, they have secured 90, 87, 75. They are not good in science. But then there is another kind of group which is very good in science, but not good in arts. So there are two kinds of clusters. So this is what is called unsupervised learning. The machine is clustering the values on the basis of its own association and analysis of the data values. A machine can figure out fake news. A machine can find out spams. They can segment the customers depending on their traits, their buying habits. They can identify similar locations for a business, for a shop. If I'm going to open a restaurant chain, I can figure in which cities should I open them by analyzing some data. Clustering the books according to genre. Finding out people are watching what kind of movies. I can segregate the people who are watching thriller movies into one group, and to those people, I can suggest only thriller movies or war movies. So these kind of things are possible with clustering approach.